I had no idea how I was going to feel. I mean, up until the day I went to the hospital, I thought I would be fine. She was born. The first day was okay. And then, you know, by the next morning, I can remember being in the hospital and just being bewildered almost. Like, what is happening here? I mean, what is happening here? Then my OB came in and just asking a couple questions about like how I felt. And then I can remember them all walking out and him walking out and then taking 3 steps backwards and looking at me and just not speaking but mouthing to me, "Are you okay?" And me just being like, no. This is someone that watches babies be born every day. And he saw it. I also, at no point in time, took into consideration or thought about like how it would affect her. From being a baby and spending, you know, 9 months in my womb and then 5 days in my arms and then being taken away. Going from a perfectly happy baby to a baby that's, you know, colicky and screaming for hours and hours every single night. She was like that for months. I mean, a couple of months up until her baptism. But when I went out there, the first time that I would have seen her after she was born was about 2 months later. And I'd been there for, you know, not very long at all. And I was holding her and she fell asleep on my chest almost immediately. I mean, with me, she was more than happy to be cradled and held and she would sleep on me. So not only how difficult it was for her as a newborn to be separated from the only thing that she knew and was comfortable with, but how it would affect her as she grew up.
One of the things that's interesting to me is that people don't think that babies know their own mothers. They don't think that it makes any difference to them who the mother is. And yet we know that if you go out in the country and you see a whole flock of sheep, that little lamb out there is going to be able to find its own mother. Human babies are as smart instinctively. With new neurological sciences, they're going to find out that these babies are much more aware than we give them credit for. The primal wound is what happens when you separate a baby and its mother. Babies know their own mothers through all their senses, and when they, for some reason, the baby is separated from that mother, the prenatal bonding is interrupted. There is a trauma that happens to both the baby and the mother, and they both feel as if something is missing within them.
I'm a product of a traditional surrogacy. The parents I grew up with couldn't conceive together. My dad was my biological dad, but the mom I grew up with was my adopted mom. I found when I was 26 my birth mom. As much as I do believe that surrogacy can come from a compassionate place, as a product of surrogacy, it's hard not to be aware that there is a price tag. There is an awareness that, you know, in essence you were bought by the family that you grew up with. You are a product at the end of the day.
The cost of the entire surrogacy cycle may be between $40,000 and $70,000 or $100,000. That's whether it's one child or two. So therefore, having twins seems like a modest balancing in that realm.
You know, we sort of joke about it and say everybody likes a sale, but it's, you know, you get 2 for the price of 1.
The baby doesn't care anything about the money. That's not what hurts the baby. The baby is hurt by the separation, by the loss of that mother that it knows. All the money being exchanged is just terrible because you're making children into commodities. You could almost say it's a form of slavery or something, you know, buying and selling them.
So you have people of means, be they gay or straight, that desire to have a biologically related child, and they consider it an entitlement. So what do? They must, by definition, prey upon financially vulnerable women who are desperate for economic means.
Calling a mother a gestational carrier is a euphemistic way of dehumanizing her and taking away the relationship by removing the word mother.
I was consistently tired. I gained weight immediately, and within probably about 3 months, I really couldn't wear shoes. I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I went downstairs and out on the porch and I just started screaming for help because I couldn't call. So the people downstairs called the ambulance for me. When they got there, I was conscious. I did speak to them. I asked for oxygen. We walked out to the ambulance, and as I was getting up on the steps, the last thing I remember saying, I said, "I can't believe you're making me walk." And I don't remember anything else. I lost consciousness, and I don't remember anything till the next evening when I woke up. I had an emergency cesarean. I had 3 doctors in the emergency room. From what I understand, they came by to see me later. One said that I was minutes away from death. The other one said I was in coma and having seizures. And one said that I was the worst case that they had ever seen.
I personally am 100% against it. I don't understand the purpose of it. There needs to be more education on the downfalls of surrogacy. I think that it's too easy to look at surrogacy from the point of view of what are my wants, what are my desires, and how do I get them met.
It was a business transaction. They wanted to pay somebody to have their baby. I do, looking back, feel like these children were bought. I went into labor at about 32, 33 weeks, and they were able to stop it. And then I went into labor again at about 35 weeks. And so I told Mom, and she's like, "Oh, my sister's coming in town, we're gonna be there." And then that was it, I didn't hear from her. About 12 hours later, I did finally hear from her, and she said, "I'm too sick to come. I can't come, I'm too sick." And then she had told me that her husband had been in the waiting room over the night. And I said, "Why didn't I know? Why didn't he come in?" And at this point I'm crying. And I said, "Please, this is your son. This is your son's birthday. And somebody should be here for him." I said, "Will you please ask Dad to come in the room?" And so Dad did come in the room. I was very upset. I was angry. And I was so sad for this little boy. I did convince Dad to stay in the room during delivery, and Dad cut his cord. They took him over to the warming table and they cleaned him up, and they were getting ready to walk out of the room, and I said, "Please, can I please see him?" And the nurse had picked up the baby and brought him over to my side and just held him up, and I about jumped out of the bed trying to get a look at him. And that was it. I walked out. I have never seen or heard from them since. I think about him every day.